Today we're going to learn how to use gradient maps to create eye-grabbing images. The tool we use in Photoshop is a gradient map adjustment layer, but you may hear the resulting effect referred to as halftones or duotones. Let's jump right in. Go ahead and open the image of the Meditating Snowboarder by Lidiia Piven. For this photo, we are going to test out applying a gradient map to the entire image. This can be done in a few simple steps. First, we go to the Adjustments panel in the upper right. If you can't find the Adjustments panel, go to the Window menu and click on Adjustments so the checkbox is showing. Then, we'll click on the Gradient Map Adjustment. It is the last icon in this list. The icon shows a gradient from black to white. A gradient map will be applied and the Properties window will open. The color of your initial gradient may be different from mine. Click on the drop-down arrow next to the gradient color bar. These folders show a bunch of preset gradient options to choose from. Go ahead and click a few of these to test out the different gradients. Once you find a gradient that you like, you can click on the gradient color bar itself to edit that gradient further. In the gradient editor, we see our gradient with one color at each end. If you picked one with more than two colors, then you'll see some different colors in the middle as well. We can move the colors along this line to change the gradient. In my example, if I move the yellow towards the middle, then yellow will become a more prominent color in my image. Or I can choose to move the orange toward the middle to make my image more orange. We can also move the middle node back and forth. If we want our gradient to have more than two colors, we can click anywhere below this bar to add another color node. Then, with that node selected, click the color picker to change the color for that node. Once you are happy with your gradient, click OK. You can then click anywhere outside of the Properties window to close it. If you ever want to reopen the Properties window, just click on the gradient map icon of your adjustment layer. Note that the adjustment layer that was created when we first clicked on the gradient map adjustment has a layer mask attached to it. But the layer mask is completely white, meaning the adjustment is being applied to the entire image. We can turn our adjustment layer on and off using the eyeball icon next to the adjustment layer. I'm going to turn this layer off and create a second gradient map adjustment layer so that I have two gradients to compare. This will also give us a little extra practice at editing gradients. Now I have two different gradient maps. I can turn each one on and off to compare them. Note that if I have both on at the same time, they do combine, which doesn't often end up looking good. Choose the gradient that you're most pleased by and then export your image. Go to File, Export As, and export a JPEG. Now that we've tested out gradient maps on entire images, let's open a different photo and test out partial gradient maps. Let's open up our rock climbing photo. The first thing we are going to do is grab the Polygon Lasso tool. It may be hidden beneath your lasso tool in the left-hand toolbar. Then we are going to draw a polygon that partially covers our photo. Click anywhere once, then move your tool to where you want the next corner of your polygon to be and click there. Then continue to click where you want your corners to be until you are back at the beginning. When you are ready to finish the polygon, hover over your starting point to get the polygon lasso icon and then click once. This should complete your polygon. Now we have our polygon selection and we are going to go to the Adjustments panel and click on the Gradient Map Adjustment once again. This time, we see in our Layers panel that our new adjustment layer also has a layer mask that matches our previous polygon selection. The gradient map is applied to the part of the photo that was inside our polygon selection. Go ahead and choose a gradient that you like and then export your photo as a JPEG using the File, Export As menu. Now let's open up the photo of the woman in sunglasses by Atikh Bana to learn how to create a checkerboard gradient map. To create this effect, we are first going to find our rectangle shape tool on the left-hand menu. With the rectangle shape tool selected, make sure the top menu has shape in the drop-down menu and a solid color for fill. It doesn't matter what color, but I'm going to use black for now. Then draw a rectangle of any size. The Properties window will open by default. Click anywhere to close it. We will change the shape of our rectangle using the Transform menu. This is under Edit, Free Transform Path. I want this rectangle to cover the upper left quarter of the image. I'm going to get it close using the Transform tool. Just dragging one of the corners or edges will transform the shape while maintaining its overall ratio of height to width. To change this ratio, we'll need to hold down the Shift key while dragging the edges. I think that I'm close, so I'm going to accept the transformation by clicking the checkbox in the top bar. I'm going to add some guides to see exactly where the middle is. Go to View, New Guide. The first guide I add will be a vertical guide at 50%, or halfway across. The next guide will be a horizontal guide, also at 50%, or halfway down. Now that I have guides in place, I will use the Move tool to move my rectangle in line with the guides. Notice that the shape snaps in place when I get close to the guide. That completes the first rectangle. To make the second rectangle, I'll just duplicate the layer. In the Layers panel, drag your rectangle layer to the plus icon at the bottom to duplicate the layer. With your new layer selected, use the Move tool to drag your duplicate rectangle to the bottom right corner. Snap it into place with the guides. I'm going to select both of my rectangle layers now and right-click and select Merge Shapes. This just cleans it up a bit so they are both on the same layer. Now we are ready to make our selection for the gradient map. Use the Quick Select tool and select the first rectangle. Then make sure your Quick Selection tool is set to Add and select your second rectangle. Now our selection is ready. Go click on the layer with the photo and then go to the Adjustments panel and click on the Gradient Map adjustment. We won't be able to see our gradient just yet because our rectangle layer is on top of the adjustment layer. Go ahead and turn off the eyeball to the rectangle layer. We won't be needing that layer any longer. Now we can see our checkerboard gradient and we can edit the gradient colors just like we did in the previous example. At this point, the guides are no longer necessary. You can go to View, Clear Guides to get rid of them. Now your image is complete and ready to be exported. Great job! You now know how to create duotone effects using a gradient map adjustment layer.